Immanuel Kant's groundwork of the metaphysics of morals. Persons must act in accordance with the universal law. Act only in accordance with that maximum through which he can at the same time will that become a universal law. Persons are persons because they possess autonomous will and reason. Only a rational being has the capacity to act in accordance with the representation of law, that is in accordance with the principles, or has a will. Since reason is required for the deprivation of actions from law, will is nothing other than the practical reason. Persons must act in accordance with the universal law. The universal law requires that persons treat persons as persons. Persons must act in accordance with the universal law. The universal law requires that persons treat persons as an end and never a means to an end. So act that you use humanity, whether in your own person or in the persons of another, always at the same time as an end, and never merely as a means. Persons must act in a way that their behavior and actions are/become a universal law of nature. Act as if the maximum of your actions were to become, by your will, a universal law of nature. If persons do this, then they become members of the kingdom of ends, which is a systematic union of various rational beings through common law. As members, persons must treat themselves and others, even those who do not yet meet the requirements for personhood, as an end, and never merely as a means to an end. The concept of every rational being as one who must regard himself as giving universal law through all the maximum of his will, so as to appraise himself and his actions from this viewpoint, leads to a very fruitful concept dependent upon, namely, that of the kingdom of ends. Treating a person as an end is to treat that person as a person in accordance with the universal law. In other words, to respect that person meets the requirements of personhood. This is if they possess autonomous will and reason. Treating a person as a means to an end is to treat a person without the respect of the universal law gives them. Universal law says a person is a person if they possess autonomous will and reason. Treating them as a means to an end hinders their autonomous will and reason, which by definition destroys personhood. Treating a person as a means to an end is a violation of the universal law, which states that a person is a person if they possess autonomous will and reason. Treating a person as a means to an end is to disrespect a person's autonomous will and reason. This is morally impermissible. Persons must act/behave in a way in which their actions or behaviors become a universal law of nature. Persons must respect others' persons' autonomous will and reason, because the universal law of nature requires persons to treat persons as persons, which means respecting their autonomous will and reason. Persons who treat persons as persons are acting in accordance with the universal law, which means they are legislators in the kingdom of ends. Thus, as legislators, persons must continue to treat persons as persons and respect their autonomous will and reason. Neglecting to is morally impermissible. Thus, as legislators, persons must treat other persons, even those who do not yet meet the requirements for personhood, as if they do possess autonomous will and reason. Persons are morally obligated to treat these persons as persons, even though they do not possess autonomous will and reason. Neglecting to is morally impermissible. Introducing your issue. Background. Before the recent election of 2016, marijuana in California was illegal for recreational use. However, the recent election has passed Prop 64, which legalizes marijuana for recreational use. The issue we are analyzing is whether it is morally impermissible or morally permissible to legalize marijuana for recreational use. Legalize/legalization, meaning to give legal validity or sanction to use said item. Marijuana is the dried leaves and flowering tops of Episcopalian hemp plant that yields THC and are smoked in cigarettes for their intoxicating effect, or simplified, a drug. Recreational drugs is chemical substance taken for enjoyment or leisure purposes rather than for medical reasons. Morally permissible, meaning that the moral rules agreed with it. Legalization of marijuana for recreational use is morally permissible based on Kant's theory. Persons are persons because they possess autonomous will and reason. The people of California are, by Kant's definition, persons. They possess autonomous will and reason. Even the small sectors of people of California who do not meet the requirements are protected from negligence by the kingdom of ends. If the people of California are persons, then their autonomous will and reason are protected by the kingdom of ends. This means they have the right to use their autonomous will and reason to make choices. It is the universal law. The use of marijuana is a choice. Choices are productions of autonomous will and reason. Persons make choices by using their autonomous will and reason to decide whether or not to do or say something. By reasoning this way, Kant's theory grants persons the right to make their own choices. Denying persons of their autonomous will and reason means denying persons of their right to make choices. In other words, it is hindering their ability to reason, which by definition is destroying personhood. The kingdom of ends protects personhood, so therefore marijuana should be legalized because in not doing so is a violation of the universal law, which is protected by the kingdom of ends. Conclusion. The legalization of marijuana for recreational use is morally permissible based on Kant's theory. The people of California are, by Kant's definition, persons. Persons have autonomous will and reason and are protected by the kingdom of ends and their legislators. This protection grants them the ability to make their own choices. The recreational use of marijuana is a choice. Therefore, the people of California have the right to choose marijuana. By this reason, legalization of marijuana is morally permissible.
You can't touch this. You can't touch this. You can't touch this.